from Cooking Bender. My name is Shane, and this is Bender. Today, we're going to make crepes. For basic crepes, all we need is milk, eggs, flour, and butter. But I'm going to do dessert crepes, so we're also throwing in cinnamon, sugar, and fruit. In my case, blueberries, strawberries, and half a banana. You also need the scale for this recipe since it is based off of ratios. We start off with our eggs. Each egg will give about a serving. So with 3 eggs, I'm expecting 3 to 4 crepes. We'll crack each one into the bowl and take note of the overall weight before we go to the next step. Alright, so the 3 eggs are 171 grams. I'm going to add another 171 grams of milk to those eggs, so overall we're looking for 342. It doesn't have to be exact, you can go a little bit over without it being too much of a problem. Alright, now that the milk and eggs are weighed out, you'll mix the fruit with a whisk or a fork, just like you're making scrambled eggs. Alright, so I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon and a tablespoon of sugar to the mix. Just doing this because it's a dessert crepe and not a savory. As the egg mix is done, you want to weigh out your flour. For this, you want half of the weight of the eggs. So my eggs were 171 grams, so we're going to go for 85 grams of flour. I transferred the egg mix into a larger bowl, and I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of melted butter. And now I'm going to slowly mix the flour in with a whisk. You're going to make sure it's mixed well without overworking it, then it might start to thicken up too much. And overall, you want this to be a thin mix. And once it's mixed up pretty good, we will go to the stove and start cooking it. Alright, so you need your pan nice and hot. I usually do about 4 on my stove. Alright, gonna spoon in a little bit of the mix, a little bit at a time until you get the bottom pretty much covered. And your first one's always going to be a little off because you're trying to figure out your mix and your size. And on this one, I rushed the gun a little bit and the pan is not hot enough. So this one is going to be a little bit harder to cook. So it's like cooking an omelet where you want to get the runny part on the sides as much as possible to cook. And when the top is starting to get dry, then it's good to flip it. Alright, so it's been cooking for a minute or two. I'm flipping it, and the bottom still isn't very well browned. So, like I said earlier, this pan wasn't hot enough when I went in. It's also a little bit easier to flip when it's hotter and better cooked. But we'll get this done. Alright, it's been a couple more minutes and the bottom's just now starting to brown. So I'm going to flip it one more time. Alright, I'm going to flip this one more time. Usually a crepe is a single flip thing, but like I said, I messed this one up. I'm going to get this little flake out. And this one is about done. And hopefully the next one gets a little bit easier. Just between crepes, you want to get out the crumbs just so it doesn't burn and mix in with the other ones. And if you're not using a good non-stick pan, you probably want to use butter between each crepe. But this pan is awesome, so I don't need one. Alright, see, that time it sizzled when I put it down, and that's what you're looking for. Now spread it around nice and thin. And you know when to start checking when the edges start peeling back. And any clumps of flour, I tend to poke with a spatula and try to flatten and weten out. And it's usually a better idea to use a flour sifter when putting in the flour originally, but I forgot. But as you can tell, this one is cooking way faster. And the bottom is nice and golden brown. Especially if you're using a bigger pan, you're going to get little folds, so feel free to pull them out and straighten them out. But as long as the top part is starting to get a little dry, you're not going to have it stick to itself too badly. Which is a problem I had before. So you still want to check it and make sure you're not burning the bottom. And once it's getting a little golden, just put it onto your plate. And usually it's going to take, 30 seconds to a minute per side, and that's all you need. And as you can tell, this one turned out way better than the first one, and faster. Now I got crepe number 3, and I'm starting to run a little low on the mix. So I'm trying to figure out, do I want to do 3 or do I want to try to see if I can get a 4th? And I'm going to go for 4. This one's a little thinner than the previous one, so you can tell there's a few holes in it. I'm just trying to get mix into the holes to make it as solid as possible. And I do switch spatulas a lot just because on a smaller pan, this spatula is really good at flipping it, but on this 12-inch one, the larger spatula, I have to use a little bit more. And again, you get nice and golden brown. And for the final one, we can use the last of our mix. We don't have a lot of it, but it should be enough to work. Just like the rest, get it nice and spread out. And then, before you know it, it's done. And now you have 4 crepes out of 3 eggs. While my crepes are cooling, I'm going to slice my strawberries nice and thin. And then put them all in a bowl with the blueberries and slice up half of the banana. Alright, now you want to mix a tablespoon of sugar into your bowl with your fruit and carefully mix. You don't want to smash up the banana too much. Alright, I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon to the fruit and then mix that up before we start filling the crepes. Alright, so I fold them just like a burrito. You don't want to overstuff it, but just put you some fruit in the middle, like so. Fold up the left and right side, and then roll like a burrito. And as long as you don't overstuff it, it shouldn't tear. And then just rinse and repeat for the next 4. Alright, so once this is done, we have one final step for eating it. I'll put some cinnamon sugar on my cutting board. Just kind of spread out, mix it a little bit. Then you roll it, like so. generally you want to roll it along with the flap. And we're done. You can do this sweet or savory. You can do bacon, egg, and cheese on the inside. Do it whatever you want for your stuffings. Overall, this is super easy to make. It just takes a bit of practice to do. And if there's anything else you'd like me to try in the future, post below. Let me know, and I will see what I can do. Well, thanks, and see you guys next week. Bye.